What is up, guys, and welcome to my overview of the Gigabyte Aivia Osmium keyboard. So, if you've been hanging around my channel for a while, you know I had the Razer Black Widow. I've used a membrane keyboard, and I'm ready to get back on the mechanical keyboard train. So, my main problem with the Black Widow is it was so loud, and it wasn't really worth me having the tactile feel to put up with the amount of noise that it was making, especially when I'm making, live gameplay commentaries and stuff like that. It was really coming through in the videos. So I'd switched back to my membrane keyboard, and I actually ended up selling my Black Widow and pretty much getting my money back and being able to fund buying this one. So if you are wondering, this keyboard comes in right around $100 US, and it comes with a lot of features. So I'll just start with the features and their practicality. So right off the bat, you can see there's a wrist rest. I found this to be kind of an awkward position, to be honest. I don't know if it's because my hands are a certain size or what it is, but basically I couldn't really find a comfortable spot. It felt like my hands were kind of sliding off. Even with the feet tilted up, it didn't feel very natural. So I've been using it without the wrist rest. I'm sure for some of you out there, it's going to feel perfectly fine. I'm guessing it's just my hand size. So anyway, you can see I also accidentally hit this little clicky deal up here, and that is what actually changes through different profiles. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basically profiles on this keyboard, and then you can have 5 different macros for each profile, different lighting settings, all that jazz. So if you play a lot of games that need a lot of macros, this keyboard will certainly be for you. But you did notice how easy it was to kind of click it. So that is one thing. I wish they would have made this a little bit tougher to hit. I mean, it is cool how it changes colors and everything like that, and I really wasn't expecting it when I first got it. I was like, huh, that's kind of neat. But I've noticed just from moving around and having my mouse over here, I've accidentally hit it a couple times, but luckily I don't play that many games with that many different macros that I don't really need 5 profiles. So that's kind of leads me to my next point. I found the macros up top actually to be better for me personally, being a first-person shooter player. Most of my macros I don't need on the fly. If anything, I'll have a command, for the CSGO console, or, something in Battlefield 4 for a console command. Whenever I go in and get, B-roll footage, I have to disable the UI, and it's nice to just be able to hit a button and try to remember the command every time and type it into the console. So that's what I generally use macros for, or like teleporting in Just Cause 2. I can type in my friend's name and I'd be able to teleport rather than sitting there and typing their whole name out every time. It's really easy just to put a macro in and you can teleport to them. So I don't use them like most people do, in MOBAs to like do a whole spell or something like that. So it's not a big deal for me that they're up here. However, if I was trying to hit them on the fly, I think it would be a little inconvenient having to reach over all of my number keys, all of my F keys to hit these keys. It's just something to keep in mind. Maybe you could get accustomed to it, but I know already just using them for basic menial tasks, they are kind of out of place up at the top. So if you're a first-person shooter that uses them like me, I think it's perfect. But if you're more of a MOBA player that's actually hitting them, quite often, it might be a little inconvenient. Again, that's up for you guys to decide. Just, if you're curious, just put a little piece of paper at the top of your keyboard and see if you can reach it and if it's uncomfortable for you. So next, onto the lighting function. So this keyboard does have a backlight. You can actually toggle it on and off. I'll get some B-roll footage put behind this that maybe will do a little bit more justice for this keyboard, but it does look really, really nice. That is certainly a pro for this keyboard. Is the backlight looks nice, and it has a nice adjustable, analog wheel here that I can even click to turn off. Next to that is the volume knob, which actually also mutes whenever you click it in. So it's nice to have. I actually have an audio interface like right next to my keyboard, so not that practical for me, but for an average user, I think that would be really nice to have. So if you notice by now this giant thick cable coming out of the back of the keyboard, that's because it has quite a few little features. So I'll start by mentioning one of the easy ones here. On the back side, there's a USB 2, and on this side, there's actually USB 3 and a headphone and microphone jack. So I found these headphone and microphone and everything to kind of be in an inconvenient spot just because it's right next to your mouse and everything, So I wish they would have put these on the other side. I think that would have made a lot more sense, especially having it like a USB 3 that you might be plugging in like hard drives, stuff like that. it's just not in a very practical spot. So I found myself really using the USB 2. It's really convenient because I plug my phone into my computer to charge it. So having that up top is really nice rather than having to run, you know, my cable all the way over to my keyboard and it barely reaches, you know, I can't talk and have it charging, where if I can plug it into the back of my keyboard, it works really well. So I don't use these jacks on this side, but if you were looking to find a keyboard that has audio jacks on the side, I think this is kind of inconvenient. Again, not a deal breaker, but it's not really that great. And the USB 3 is a pass-through, so you have to have a USB 3 port. You're not just going to magically have a USB 3 port all of a sudden. So yeah, I think that just about covers all the little features. And let's get on to how the keyboard actually feels. So for me, coming from the Razer Black Widow that has Cherry MX Blues to something with Cherry MX Browns, it was a little weird at first, I'll be honest. It is very easy to hit these keys compared to the Black Widow. So it took me a while to get adjusted to, but now that I'm kind of getting used to it, I really like how light these keys are. You know, that tactile bump in the Razer is nice, but it kind of got annoying when you're playing first-person shooters like I mentioned before, and just trying to inch forward. You had to like actually hit it every time, where with the Browns, I can kind of just lean my finger on it and it will go forward. So if you're coming from a heavier key switch, it will take some getting used to, but for the most part, I'm happy that I switched to the Browns. They are quieter, and I'll do an audio sample at the end of this video, but as far as just overall feel, I really, really like the Browns. So they also make this keyboard in red. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. So there are options, but I feel like the Browns are a little bit better. They're kind of that nice medium where the red is really light. You can't really lean your hand on a red keyboard. It will just kind of hit buttons. So that's why I like the Browns. They actually still do have a little bit of a tactile bump, but not so much that I actually feel like I'm having to like click it every single time I want to move like one little inch. So I will put an audio sample, like I said, at the end of this video. But before we do that, I'll go into some of the stuff that comes in the box, and that'll probably wrap it up for this video. So just 1 second. So right off the bat, you'll notice that this whole box doesn't actually fit in frame. It's because it's ginormous. So yeah, expect a much larger package than you would think a keyboard would come in. So just your general manual and everything like that. So this has all your pass-throughs on the back. I hope that's not too whited out there, but you can see audio and microphone, USB 2 and USB 3 pass-throughs on the back. And it does come with a key puller. It's always handy to have. Not necessarily something you're going to be using every day, but it's certainly nice that they included it, especially since they included some extra keys here. And you can see, I don't know that I would ever use these, but it's kind of cool, I guess. So they have like a flame, shield, lightning bolt, and something else. I'm not sure what this last one is, but it's kind of cool that they included these. Not my favorite, but again, if I was going to replace keys, I'd probably get something a little bit different, but it is kind of cool that it came with a key puller and some spare keys. If you were going to assign your macros to something specific, you know, you could have a key to coincide with that. So yeah, without any further ado, I think that's going to cover it for the keyboard. Let's get into an audio sample.